Well, we always know the Molineux is definitely not an easy place to go, and Chelsea found that out the hard way. Janusz Michallik here with me for this one. Janusz, Chelsea, they took the lead, but then they ended up losing 2-1 to Wolves. As I said, not an easy place to go. So how did Wolves claw their way back, or what did Chelsea miss out on this one?
Well, with Wolves, we know that they're much better in the second half than they are in first, right? But Chelsea were in full control of that game and should have been in full control of that game. I think, as much as I think that Frank Lampard is doing a good job, I mean, this loss is on him. There's no questions about that, because there were things that he could have done in the game and with his substitution. I think he knew the game was getting away from him a little bit in the second half. It has changed in the first half. I think Chelsea were in control of that match. If you remember, Christian Pulisic was playing on the left-hand side, and Nelson Semedo didn't really know what to do with him. When he switched Pulisic to the other side, mainly because he probably wanted struggling Timo Werner to maybe get into the game, that never happened. And you would have thought that maybe they'll switch again, and they didn't do so till very, very late in the game, where it was pretty much 1-1, I think. So, for Frank Lampard, play to your strengths, not to your weaknesses. And unfortunately for him, the two German players, Timo Werner and Kai Havertz, continue to struggle. Mason Mount wasn't in the game, and yet Chelsea were leading in this match as well. So, not recognizing that he needed to maybe bring Jorginho instead of even Kovacic into that midfield, go to 4-2-3-1, because the game was going against him. Those would be my changes. But then again, I'm here, and he's making the big bucks.
Well, you mentioned a name right there, Timo Werner. I mean, there was so much excitement surrounding Timo Werner when he signed for Chelsea at the summer, but now he's gone about 8 games in all competitions without a goal. We talk about goal droughts for Arsenal and Aubameyang. Here we go with one for Timo Werner. What's not quite clicking there at Chelsea, do you think?
Well, first of all, it's time. Look where Chelsea are, even with this loss. They're there or thereabout, right? I mean, obviously, their situation will change when other teams play. This is certainly an opportunity lost for them. But I think in the 4-3-3, it's difficult. I don't think of him as a wide left-sided player in a 4-3-3. I still think that he likes to be played on. He likes to use his pace. He needs a little bit more space, which was always going to be difficult against Wolves, right? I mean, look at the way they played in the first half. It was basically 5 in the back and, possessional game, very much like Chelsea struggled with against Everton. Everton had 28% possession. So Christian Pulisic was very, very good, but you could see what Daniel Podence and Pedro Neto did for Wolves, right? And you sort of think of Ziyech, that's the type of technical player, lefty, that can kind of maybe unlock some avenues for players. And Chelsea were missing that. But Pulisic was positive, you have to say that.
Well, on a negative, Chelsea now back-to-back losses, of course, in the Premier League. This is always a time of year where we start to reflect on the first half of the season before we go into the new year and get the second half of the season. So what would Frank Lampard be trying to change, I suppose, going into the new year from what we've seen so far?
Well, I think he's going to be working. I think he's found the balance defensively, even though they conceded 2. But remember how the year started. His reactions were immediate. There was a period of time where Chelsea had a number of clean sheets. I think the experience of Thiago Silva has helped. I think Edouard Mendy has been good in general. Today, that one goal by Podence, a bit of a deflection. I think he was cheating the other way, thinking that's where the shot was going to go. So we've seen Frank Lampard react positively. I think he's going to have to work on the positional play, because I think everybody recognizes how dangerous Chelsea are. Nobody's going to open themselves up to allow Timo Werner and everybody else with pace and quality to beat them. I think teams are going to start sitting back against them. That's already happened. So that's one area where I think he needs to look at. But, he's amongst the favorites now. So it was never going to be easy. As I've said, I think he showed maybe a little bit of an inexperience in this game. But in general, I think he's done a marvelous job with this pretty much new team, really, when you look about them, and inexperience in some areas.
And finally, we can't make it all about Chelsea, because Wolves really are the ones that won. And honestly, there's been so many concerns since they don't have their star, Raul Jimenez. But so far, so good, I suppose, if we look from this game, with a couple of them that stepped up. So Is there not time to panic, I suppose, until Jimenez comes back?
Well, that's how these games go. It was very close, right? I think if Chelsea saw this game out, which they were in the position to do so, I mean, in the first half, you didn't see much from Wolves. In the second half, obviously, a little bit of quality came through, but they are a totally different team without Raul Jimenez. I'm not even talking about his goals. I mean, look, before this game, they had 11 goals. He scored 4. But I think what he does very well is that he brings others into the game. How often have we seen him kind of his strength with back to goal, comes in the midfield, allows others to come in, and it's usually on the end of that action as well. So I think that's a tremendous issue for them, and it's going to be continue to be an issue. Today was a good day. They found a way to come back, but I don't know if they can do that consistently without obviously Raul Jimenez or maybe somebody that they'll be thinking about bringing in the January transfer window. But yeah, absolutely. Give Wolves credit. They're predictable to some degree, but they've been good. But that's a massive loss, of course, for them.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPNFC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.